Hey there, everyone. Give you guys a display of this winter wonderland that we got going on here. So today I'm going to give you guys my initial impressions of the primary arms 5 to 25 by 56. Actually, move it a little bit closer. Is that good? Yeah, let's get you a little closer. Okay, right there. That's good. So I'm shooting 200 yards now. And I have a 22 conversion bolt with it, right? It's got the cmmg 22 conversion bolt. Guys, if you've never shot a 5 to 25, like I have not prior to today, I definitely recommend that you order this with a 22 conversion bolt because there's a lot of learning to do, and you're better off doing that learning with 22s, okay? I mean, I got 22s galore over here. I've already shot like 300 rounds with this scope, and I'm gonna probably, whatever I got here, I'm gonna probably shoot another 200 before I'm done here today. So, initial impressions, okay? The first thing that kind of stood out to me, and I already did a couple of videos with regards to mounting the scope and initial thoughts, unboxing it. And I did a video on how to set the locking turns, which is really important. You guys got to see it. Okay, but now mounting it onto this gun, okay, and this is basically a 16-inch AR-15 that has a 22 conversion bolt in right now. A Palmetto 16-inch umper on an aerial lower that I built myself. So I weighed this thing out without a magazine in the gun. This thing weighs like 9 pounds, 2 ounces. So this is a heavy gun. Once you put this big scope on this, aside from the fact that initially I thought this looked really awkward, this is a heavy gun. My 18-inch AR, right, my Ruger MPR with the with the 1 to 8 LPVOs and the 1 to 10 LPVOs is a lot lighter than this. Okay. So there's a noticeable difference here, and like you kind of jump up from, okay, the LPVO is like sort of manageable. Like red dot with a magnifier is very manageable, especially if you take off the magnifier and you just got a red dot. That's like very easy to move around with. LPVO on an AR, those things with a mount, they weigh about 1.5 pounds. I mean, they become, you can notice the weight, but you can still move around with it. Once you put this on here, this becomes awkward and heavy. So, in my opinion, regardless what caliber you're shooting, whether you're shooting 5.56, 308, or the 22s that I got in here right now, this is what I would classify as a special purpose rifle, SPR. Okay, walking around the woods with this, because I had to sling this on my back to get out here. The first thing that jumped out at me, right, was the covers that Primary Arms gives you for this scope are dog shit. Okay, or as my southern friend, my South Carolina friend would say, dog shit. Okay, that's what they say down in South Carolina, dog shit. So the caps are dog shit, okay, because they're plastic, they break off easy, and they're spring loaded and they flip up on their own. And what happens is, as you're walking around the woods, right, this objective lens here is a lot bigger, okay? So this is gonna wanna catch a lot more stuff than your LPVO that has like a, that's like less than, half the size of this, okay? So this is a lot bigger. This is gonna wanna catch a lot of shit, especially when it's on your back, pointing up. All the shit off the trees is gonna fall in there. So the little plastic flip-up caps are garbage. They're just gonna open up on you. They should give you the rubber bikini covers like I have on my M8 Raptor. That would work. That'll stay in place. And if nothing else, I mean, I don't know if there's any aftermarket options that are available, but that's the first thing that stands out, because if you start collecting shit in here, it's gonna, I mean, basically, the whole purpose of having this big thing in here is to collect light. And if this thing starts collecting dust and shit off of the trees, it's gonna, it's gonna inhibit light from getting into the glass, and it'll also scratch the glass up at some point. Okay? So that's the second thing. The first thing that stood out is heavy, which is fine because we're gaining some extra capability. The second thing that stood out with this is that the caps that come with it are dog shit. Now, initially, I have not shot any 5.56 in this yet, right? I sighted this thing in. I sighted this thing in at 50 yards with 22 long rifle. So it has a chevron in there, right? It's got the Athena reticle sighted in at 50 yards. At 100 yards, okay, basically my drop is at the 1 mil, okay? So when you zero in at 50 yards, that's like the height of the bullet arc, okay? It's never going to climb because the 22 is not going any faster. If you normally my 22s, I like to zero, or even 9mm, I like to zero in at 20 yards because it gives me that arc. I get the second zero round 75 yards, 100 yards. But for this purpose today, I just zeroed in at 50 yards. So at 100 yards, I'm down 1 mil on my on the mill grid that it has. Okay, and I'll see if I can attach a picture here of the reticle so you guys can see what it looks like. Okay. So that's at 100 yards on 1 mil down, which is the top of that little spine. Okay, and then from there I came straight out here to 200 yards. Okay, so at 200 yards, I'm zooming in. I'm watching the impacts. I'm at 6 mils. Okay, so if you've never worked with a 525 scope, at a 5 to 25 scope with that 25 power magnification, okay, as I have not, there's a learning curve here, right? Because when you're going from if you've got like the typical LPVO, like 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, you're zooming in. You can, whether you're in 1 power, right, or you're in 8 power, you can see the whole reticle. Even if you have a first focal plane scope, right, and you have, let's say, like, you can see down far enough. Okay, with the 25 power, okay, when I zoom into 25, okay, and I focus in on the reticle, okay, the 6 is at the very bottom of my field of view. So as I'm looking over here, the 6 is like way down here. Okay, so I think I can see the 6. I think maybe 7, 8 is like right at the edge. Like 7 mils is out of my field of view. Right. So this is your field of view. It's down here. So as you zoom in, right, the reticle is going to come out of your field of view. So I'm holding at 6 for 200 yards with 22 long rifle, and it's like right at the bottom of my glass. So it didn't take me long to figure out that with this type of a scope, whether I intended to or not, and initially I did not intend to make too much use of the dials, whether you intend to or not, you have to use the dials because as you go further out, things are going to fall out of your field of view. Okay, so what I did is since I saw that my impacts were at 6 mils, which were near the bottom of my field of view, what I did is now initially I didn't set the zero stop on this, so I was at 3, okay, and what I did is, okay, I got to come up 6, so I went from 3 to 9, so I went up, I dialed up 6 mils, and now when I'm shooting, basically I'm just putting the tip of the chevron on the bullseye that I'm trying to hit, and I'm basically right there with these 22s. Okay, so you gotta kind of figure out where, like if you don't already know, at whatever, given the distance that you're shooting at, if you don't know what the drop is, right? You take a shot, you see where the impact is, you get an idea of how many mils down you are, right? Now because the reticle and the dial are in mils, when you see that you are let's say you're 10 mils down, well, now you dial 10 up, right? So now that brings you to, brings the tip of your chevron to the bullseye. In this case, I was down 6 mils, so I dialed up 6, and now the tip of my chevron is on the bullseye. So that's a different line of thinking than everything I've done in the past, like I've been training whatever for the last 2-3 years with LPVOs, this is a very different approach because as you zoom in, your field of view basically gets restricted so much. Okay, now when you're in 5 power, all you really see is a duplex because the lines are very, very thin, and they have to make the lines very, very thin so that when you dial up, right, when you zoom in to the higher magnifications, you know you have thin lines instead of like these big blocky lines that cover up your bullseye. Okay, so when you're in so this scope is like set up to work. Like you can use 5, 6, 7, 8 to kind of get you in the area, but then you kind of have to dial up a little bit so so that you can see the mill lines and you can be able to measure where your impacts are hitting and make the adjustments. Okay. So this was really interesting. So again, this is my first day shooting this primary arms 525 by 56. I've, the mount that I have on here is from is the cheaper one from it was $35 one from UTG. I am gonna get a 20 MOA one, which was $70. That one is from Arkin, I think. I mentioned it in another video. It's like $70. You need the 20 MOA because of all the dialing that you're going to be doing with this scope. If you get like a 0 MOA mount, what that means is that you don't get to use the bottom dials, right? You're only using half of the dials that are available to you, or half the elevation that is available to you. So by starting off with 20 MOA, you're already high, and you have to dial down to near the bottom, right? And now you have a lot of elevation to work with. Okay, so initial impressions. All right, this scope makes the gun heavy, really heavy. Not surprising. The caps that come with it suck. They need to issue better caps. Okay, even the rubber ones will be better because again, my main concern with the caps is as I'm moving around the woods, I don't want shit falling in there. Okay, so caps that are spring loaded and pop open automatically, it's not going to do the job for me. Okay, and thirdly, you gotta practice with this to figure out how to use the mills and how to zoom in and how to dial up and how the two work together. Using 22s is a good way to learn that, right? Because here's the thing: at 200 yards, it's almost as if though I was shooting like let's say a 5.56 at like 700-800 yards. Okay, so I have to do that much work with the scope in order to get on target. Okay, so using 22s is a good way to learn this scope. So I'm going to do a lot of videos on this scope. Okay, because there's a lot that's going to come up. I mean, I've done a shit ton of videos on the primary arms M8 Raptor. I've done a shit ton of videos on the Miffin Grid. Right, I have another scope. So there's a lot of stuff in here. So let me take some shots. Oh, by the way, I'm using the electronic. I got 2 types of targets out there. Okay. I've got a paper target and I also have a steel target where I'm using the electronic muffs. So when I'm shooting at the steel target, I can hear the pings because that's kind of helping me figure shit out here today. Okay, so I want to use both. I want to use both you want to use a paper target and a steel target like side by side at 200 yards to help you figure out how to use this scope. Put my gloves on. Oh, by the way, you definitely want to, when you see white shit all over the place like this, definitely want to preload your magazines. The last thing you want to do is be out here in the woods trying to load 22s into these magazines. One other thing that, initial impressions, I did not set the 0 stop after I zeroed in at 50 yards. So that's why I started off at 3. So now I got to keep track. Okay, I'm at 3. I'll dialed up to 9, but I know that like my 3 mark here is like where I'm starting. I'm out here in the woods. I'm like, yeah, it would be really nice if I can set my 0 to, if I could set the 0 stop or the lock and turn, but I didn't bring the Allen key. Okay, so, and the thing is, I wouldn't want to be messing around with Allen keys and little Allen screws out here in the woods. I wish there was an easier way to set the 0 stop versus having an Allen key and screws and stuff like that. Because out here right now in the woods, I can't do that. Now, once this thing gets once I zero this, I mean, this is probably a minor issue because once I get this zeroed in with the 5.56, I mean, once you do it, it's done, right? And later on, this goes on the AR10, again, once you do it, it's done. But that's one of the things that just came up. It's like, yeah, I'd like to set the locking turns, but I can't because I didn't bring the tool with me out here. So let's take some shots with this. So I'm already up at 9 mils, so I already got my height. It's all starting to get a little dark now. Not too dark, but it's a little dark. So you definitely gotta like zoom down to find your target, right? Because of that field of it, and then zoom up once you get in on it. Oh, other thing worth mentioning, eye box. Eye box is, it's work, okay? Trying to eye box, eye relief. You know, just if your head's not in the right position, you're gonna have a hard time seeing shit. With the parallax, I mean, they give you the yardages there in the parallax. It depends. You got to play with it to find the right focus, okay? So you do have to work a little bit between the parallax and the diopter in the back to get the right focus. We'll discuss that more in a different video. Okay, so zoom up. So let's go on the steel first. You'll be able to hear the pings. Hit. 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 All right, that was the steel. Let's go to the paper. Now the paper's a lot smaller than the steel. The steel's 2 foot by 1 foot. The paper's only like whatever, like 12 by 12 or something. I lost it. You gotta dial down to find your freaking target. There it is. And then dial up. Let me get this. That was high. I heard that on the steel. That shot landed high. The steel's above it. All right, let's see if we manage. I know I was dialed in pretty good on the steel. We got lots of successive hits. The paper is a small target. Let's see if we got hits on the paper. I'll pause you guys and we'll walk. All right, guys, let's take a look at it. Okay. So from my field of view, that paper over there is just above that stump. So the paper here is at, let's say, 100 and maybe 197 yards, and then the steel over there in that little hole over there is at 200 yards. Okay, so we probably fired close to like maybe 22 rounds, because I mean they're 25 round magazines, but sometimes I don't, you know, like they get harder as you load them all the way, so I don't get too anal about it. So let's take a look at the hits here that we got. So the ones with the holes that were from earlier, I was kind of dialing in. So the new holes, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 hits. Look, there's one over here on the side over here. That could have been for, let's just stick with the paper. So there are 11 hits on paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 hits. So about 50% at 200 yards with 22s. The 22s are like Federal auto match bulk, like I bought it at Walmart, so it's the cheap shit. So this is hitting, and there's the steel plate which is behind it that I was hitting. So it's kind of helpful to have both of these, because like earlier on when I was getting dialed in, you know, I could hear the impacts over here, and that, you know, and then like over here I could kind of see the impacts in the snow a little bit. And then I could kind of confirm it with because here I can't see the impact so much in the wood, but I can hear the impacts on the steel. Okay, so here in the snow I can't hear the impacts in the snow, but I can see the splash marks of the 22s hitting the snow. So this is, you know, again, this is a learning curve, right? This is new for me. We're gonna be working with this for a while. Guys can expect many videos. I'm going to include a link to a primary arms scope playlist that I have going on. I've got videos in there from the M8 Raptor, from the M10S, and now I'm going to start throwing in this 5 to 25 SLX from primary arms. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop some comments, and you know, this is a learning thing here. You know, so. And again, the 22s allow me, like I said, I've already shot like 300 rounds today. It's a good way to learn really fast and do a lot of shooting.